What's up, Ranger fans? Broadway Blue Bleeder here, bringing you another Broadway Breakdown. I know it's been a while. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me over these last couple months. A lot of lifestyle things going on, but it's all going to be for the better. So we are back, like I said, with another Broadway Breakdown. I'm going to go over a few things. I know, like I said, I haven't done one of these in a while, so there's a lot to catch up on. I'm going to try to keep it short as possible, not go into too much detail, because, you know, we already know what's happened. And I think I got a few new things for you guys that you might not be aware of, and some opinions that may be strong and unpopular. That's the word I'm looking for. But we'll see. We'll get there in due time. I do want to start with, now that the season is upon us, I am going to be doing some different things on my various accounts. For those that don't know, I do have an Instagram. It's BroadwayBlueBleeder. TikTok, same thing, Broadway Blue Bleeder. I do have my own webpage, BroadwayBlueBleeder.com. And I also have my YouTube page, which is where you guys are watching this now. And I've added my shorts to this channel, so that's a little bit more content for you guys. Instagram and TikTok I kind of stepped away from for a while. I am going to be back doing more videos and things on that. As far as my website, I'm going to be very, very happy to announce this. With everything that's been going on, I have a little bit more time now to do some more writing. For those that don't know, I do enjoy writing about the Rangers. I don't do it often. It takes a lot of time for me. I have very short attention span, so it takes a long time for me to write things. But I am very excited to get back to writing. I do have a current post up on my website. You guys can go check that out. But hopefully at least once a week I'll be uploading something new to the website, give you guys something to read in between games and things like that. So that's going to be really, really, really big. Today's video is going to focus, as far as the Rangers, on the off-season moves. I give a grade to the off-season as well. We'll talk about the preseason games and what that means going forward. We'll talk about some lineup combinations, an extension that was signed today, which is Sunday, and who the next captain's going to be. So we'll start right off with off-season grade. So going into this off-season, I think a lot of us potentially thought we were going to make some kind of blockbuster move, whether that be for Jack Eichel or another center or offensive piece. However, instead they went out, traded away an offensive piece and Pavel Buchnevich, and returned with Sammy Blais, who I have loved so far this preseason. The Rangers themselves came out when this offseason started, and at last trade deadline, and at last offseason, saying that they wanted to upgrade Ryan Strome. They went out and looked, as far as we know. They knocked on the door for Buffalo, and that was about it. That's as far as the insiders got. No trades have happened for a center. There's really no talk right now about another center coming, so maybe they're just going to move on with Strome as C2, which isn't the end of the world. It's not like Strome does anything wrong or terrible, but he doesn't do anything great. I think he can definitely be upgraded, especially the face-off would be a huge, huge upgrade. But again, it's not the end of the world going into this season with Strome. I'm only mentioning it because it's something that the Rangers set out to do, and they didn't do it. So I kind of wanted to give them an incomplete for the offseason. However, based off the other moves, the signing of Reaves to an extension and trading for him, we got Sammy Blais, like I mentioned, we have Jared Tenorti, and we got Patrick Nemeth, and we also have Dryden Hunt. So there was a couple upgrades there across the board. This offseason we did lose, let's see if I can remember this, Blackwell to the expansion draft. We lost Booch, obviously, to St. Louis in the trade. I don't think I'm missing anybody else that's really big as far as... Oh, Jack Johnson. We lost the heart and soul of the team this offseason. Totally forgot about him. But... the kind of, you got rid of offense to bring in grit and toughness, which was one of their offseason goals. At the time of the trade, and still even now, I know he looks good so far in preseason, but I still think we got the short end of that stick. I know we got a draft pick out of it, but Pavel Buchnevich was just something else, man. He was great on defense, he was great on offense, so it's tough to give up offense to get grit, but we'll see if it works or not. They also wanted to sign Mika to an extension, which happened today. I'll get more into that a little bit later. So they set out, and did a few things that they wanted to do from this checklist, but they didn't do it all. However, with the moves that have, and they went out inside Gerard Gallant. With the moves that have been made, I'm going to give the Rangers front office, as of right now, a C+. And I'm only doing that because, like I said, it's kind of an incomplete. They really didn't go out and upgrade center 2, and they gave up some offensive skill to get grit. Down the line, maybe this offseason was the one that changed everything for the Rangers. But at this point, they're relying a lot on the kids to grow up quick. They're relying on a lot of offense from the top 2 lines. They're not very balanced right now. That could change. Once we get into the lineups, I'll talk about that. But as of right now, like I said, it's really 2 lines. If Mika goes down, we're kind of SOL at this point. I don't think Strome can take over as a center 1, which I think is one of the reasons the Rangers want to go out and upgrade that center spot. So the offseason grade, like I said, for now is a C+. It could change by the end of this year. It could get worse. It could get better. C+, I think, is pretty fair for what happened this offseason. Preseason review. So the Rangers played in 6 games. They went 4-2-0. Saw a lot of good things. Saw a lot of bad things. Overall, I think the 2 most important games to take away from the preseason schedule was the last 2 games against the Islanders in Bridgeport and against the Devils at home. The reason I claim those 2 to be the big 2 games is the fact that I think those lineups are going to be what we see on Wednesday. Obviously the last game against the Islanders, Panarin, Kreider, and Mika didn't play. They will obviously be in the lineup, but I think that's really what Gallant was looking to do. I think he gave the kids some time as the top scorers, and they came through brilliantly. Filipino looked great. Capo Caco is massive this year. He is absolutely huge. His speed is getting there. His skating looks better, his toughness is better, his physicality is better. I think he had a great offseason. I think it's going to be a huge boost for the Rangers going into this season. Lafreniere looks like a totally different player. He doesn't look like somebody coming into his second year. He looks a lot more comfortable out there on the ice. And he's going to get time to prove that, he was a number 1 pick for a reason. 4-2-0. Games 5 and 6, like I said, were the biggest 2. One of the things I did want to mention was the game against the Devils. We all know Ryan Reaves got a little slew foot from PK Subban. I liked the way the Rangers responded. I didn't necessarily like the way Chris Kreider himself responded. I think he was kind of flying off the handle at that point. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the response. I just don't want to see that kind of a response in a regular season game. Penalties like Kreider could have taken could really hurt the team going forward. I again, don't get me wrong, I love that he stuck up for him, but do it on the ice. Let your play dictate how you're going to retaliate, because once the Rangers started going after PK Subban with their grit and physicality, they looked completely lost on offense. They were shut out, I think, in shots after the first 15 minutes in that period, or after the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whenever Reaves got hurt, but they just looked like dog crap. And I think they were too focused on retribution than they were on the game. I would love to see them keep that retribution up, but focus on the game as well. You can't let the game get out of hand. Or, you can't leave your play style just because you didn't agree with the hit, which was totally dirty, I agree. But you got to be careful. You got to walk that line. And I think that's one of the things the Rangers are going to have to learn this season is, yes, it's great to be physical and stick up for your teammates, but at the same time, you have to remember the goal of the game is to win. It's not to just beat the other player up. That was one of my big points this offseason with the grit edition, is that, yeah, it's great to have that physicality out there, but Reaves was already hurt. Yes, going after Subban showed that we have testicular fortitude to step up for ourselves, stick up for our teammates, but, Reaves was already hurt, which is the whole point of me this offseason going back with the goons and the toughness. It's great to have Ryan Reaves on the team for situations where a dirty hit happens or to stick up for your teammates, whatever it may be. But at that point, that player's already gone. So you have to remember, let's stick up for our teammates, but let's keep this offense going. Let's beat the shit out of them on the scoreboard. That's the best way to get back at people. It's the best way to stick up for a teammate. You punch, you fight, you hit, you get tough, but you win. Winning is the best. But I did like the way they looked. I think that you can totally see Gallant's hand in the system. The Rangers are much, much more north-south players right now than they are east-west. And they look very confident in their game, which is huge. Their forecheck, back check has been great this preseason. They've caused a lot of turnovers, a lot of headaches, and I think we're going to continue to see that style of play. We have the guys on the team that can back check. We have the guys on the team that can forecheck. I think we're going to bring it all together, and we're going to be a tough team to play against. That's what we're trying to prove right now, and I think they've kind of gotten about halfway there. I think if they can keep it up during the season, but add to that score sheet, I think we can be pretty good this year. That's of course based off preseason. You got to take that with a grain of salt, but not everything is just in preseason. Some things are good to see, and there was a lot of great things to see. First couple of games, there was a lot of defensive lapses. There wasn't many shots being taken from great spots, too many bad passes, and just overall messy. But they've definitely cleaned it up in the last few games, so it's really good to see. That's the whole reason for preseason, is to get your guys ready for the season. This is also Loft's first real off-season. This is Kako's, hopefully, knock on wood, first real season. We know his first year got cut short because COVID. So it might be the best for this team right now to actually have a normal season with the amount of young guys we have. The last couple of years have been kind of crazy. So hopefully we get back to normalcy, which means the Rangers are back in the playoffs. It's, of course, normal in the NHL. With the players we have right now, going into that a little bit more, I do want to do some predictions for the lineup. I think the top line might be the biggest question right now. I think line 2, it's pretty locked in with Panarin, Strome, and Kakko. Line 1, I have to start at least Loft, Zib, and Kreider. Now, Kreider, as we all know, last year got moved down to the third line. He was demoted. He wasn't himself. He wasn't really producing much. I don't think Gallant is going to have a long leash for him. Gallant has said himself that he doesn't like to have young kids playing in the bottom 6. With the way the roster is currently constructed, there may be players that are young playing in the bottom 6. I think one of the things you're going to look at to move, you're not going to want to move Panarin out. You're not going to move Kakko down. You're not going to move Loft down unless they're playing absolute dog shit. So I think it really leaves potentially Kreider going down to the third line. As is, I'm saying Loft, Zib, Kreider, Panarin, Strome, Kakko. Third line, you're going to have Goodrow, Hedl, and Kravtsov. I think Goodrow is going to take the majority of the faceoffs. Hedl has to work on his faceoffs. I know during the offseason there were some reports that the Rangers didn't see Hedl as a center. We'll see where that goes. But he's another young guy that might not have room on this team. There's Kravtsov as well, who shouldn't be playing on the third line, according to our head coach. So I think if Kreider continues to struggle to start, I think the coach gives him a few games, he gets a short leash, he gets moved down to the third, and I think you'll see either Kravtsov or Hedl move up to the top line. I do think at some points this season as well, we're going to see potentially a lineup of Zibanejad, Kakko, and Lafreniere, which I think would be awesome. But who knows at this point? These are all, of course, just predictions. My fourth line, as it stands, I have Sammy Blais, Rooney, and Reaves. Now, with those lineups, there's a few names that I've left out. The Rangers also have Julien Gauthier, Morgan Barron, and Dryden Hunt on the team as well. So going back to Gallant and his bottom 6 theory, you have Kravtsov and Hedl both playing a bottom 6 role. And that's not something the coach believes in. So there's not a lot of room on this roster right now to make movements with the players we have. Which is another reason I was surprised there wasn't another trade or two from the Rangers, just to kind of give more breathing room for these kids to play. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the lineup as it goes forward. Like, I really don't see the kids playing bottom 6 minutes all too much. It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens if Kreider comes out slow like he notoriously does, or he's even streaky as he usually is. Those are the forward groups at least. I do think we're going to see Barron and Gauthier at some point during the season, a few games here and there. Gautier's kind of a Gallant style player. He's very fast. He looks much bigger than last season. He's kind of physical again. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think there's enough room for everybody as constructed, and I'll get to that in a minute. But as far as the forwards go, I think that's pretty much what it's going to be once the game starts. Of course, Reaves is still questionable. He's still day-to-day with his knee injury that happened against the Devils. So I think we might see maybe Morgan Barron or even Greg McKegg in that spot. But we'll see. As far as the defense goes, that's pretty much set. I don't think it's any shocking news here. We're going to have Norris and Lindgren, Jacob Trouba, Keandre Miller, and we're going to have Patrick Nemeth and Nils Lundqvist. Nils Lundqvist looked great this preseason. I think potentially he may quarterback power play 2 at some point this year. I don't think they want to keep Miller and Trouba out there for that, so that'll be interesting to see who's quarterbacking PP2. I think power play 1 at